The command echoed across the dusty parade ground of Fort Vanguard like a thunderclap. "Strip your uniform, Soldier Grant, right here in front of everyone." Captain Marcus Hale's voice was laced with venom, his eyes gleaming with the satisfaction of a man about to crush what he saw as a weak link, a woman of color who didn't belong in his elite training program. 300 soldiers stood frozen in formation under the relentless Texas sun, their murmurs silenced by the shock of the order. Aisha Grant, her brown skin glistening with sweat, met Hale's gaze with unyielding calm. Slowly, she unzipped her battle dress uniform, BDU, letting the fabric slide off her shoulders. Gasps rippled through the ranks as the eagle tattoo between her shoulder blades came into view. A fierce eagle head, wings poised for flight, inked in intricate black lines that seemed to pulse with hidden power. General Harlan Brooks, observing from the platform, froze mid-step, his face draining of color. What secret did this tattoo hide? Why did it make a battle-hardened general recoil as if facing a ghost from his past? But to understand that moment, we must go back 5 weeks to when Aisha first arrived at Fort Vanguard. At 32, Aisha Grant was the picture of unremarkable competence. Medium build, curly black hair pulled into a regulation bun, warm brown skin that blended into the diverse but tense ranks of the base. Her transfer papers from the Pentagon were stamped with clearance codes that made the admin staff shift uncomfortably. Classified, no details provided. Previous assignment, need to know basis, she'd say with a polite smile, her voice soft but steady. To avoid drawing attention, Aisha integrated seamlessly at first. During morning physical training, PT, she ran the obstacle course at an average pace, matching the group's rhythm without outshining anyone. She chatted lightly with her white teammates over MREs in the mess hall, small talk about the heat or weekend plans, while her sharp eyes cataloged everything. Who led under pressure? Who cracked first? This was situational awareness, a skill honed in special ops where noticing the subtle shift in an enemy's stance could mean life or death. It taught discipline, the kind that helped her overcome prejudice, turning observation into a shield against judgment. Yet, the whisper started almost immediately. Sergeant Lena Voss, a sharp-tongued white woman with a chip on her shoulder, eyed Aisha with envy. "Another affirmative action hire," Voss muttered to her clique during downtime. "Weak link of color, probably got here on quotas, not merit." Corporal Derek Kane, a burly white man with tattoos of his own, patriotic eagles and flags, joined in, his racism barely veiled. "She doesn't belong. Look at her. Barely breaks a sweat in PT, like she's too good for the grind." They didn't know Aisha was deliberately holding back, blending in to fulfill her secret evaluation role. But the prejudice stung, echoing the deeper wounds she carried. Hidden beneath her uniform was the eagle tattoo, a symbol of freedom from the chains of prejudice. One evening, as the sun dipped low over the desert, Aisha stood alone on the base perimeter, watching a real eagle soar overhead. Its shadow crossed her path and she touched the spot on her back where the ink lay concealed. What does it relate to her past, one might wonder? For Aisha, it was a reminder of Operation Shadow Eagle, a classified anti-terror mission in the Middle East, where she'd lost 10 teammates, all people of color like her, to a botched raid fueled by a commander's racial bias. She was the sole survivor, haunted by PTSD nightmares, screams in the sand, accusations of incompetence masking bigotry. Debriefed in secret, decorated in shadows, Aisha had been sent here to recover and assess, valuable skills too precious to waste, but her psyche needed time. But her teammates didn't know. Aisha was taking notes in her small leather journal, not just on drills, but on who crumbled under stress, who adapted, and as the prejudices mounted, her secret was about to explode. The whispers in the mess hall grew bolder as the days wore on, building on the undercurrents Aisha had noted in her journal. She sat alone at a corner table, her notebook open but disguised as casual doodling, meticulously recording not just training efficiencies, but the subtle fractures in unit cohesion, the glances, the snide remarks, the biases that simmered like the Arizona heat outside. Her secret evaluation mission from the Pentagon was clear: observe, assess, and report on how Fort Vanguard's advanced program prepared soldiers for real-world threats, all while keeping her true capabilities hidden. Reform was needed after disasters like Operation Shadow Eagle, where prejudices had cost lives. But Aisha couldn't reveal that yet. Her orders demanded anonymity, a shield against the very discrimination she now faced head-on. The escalation came during lunch, when Sergeant Lena Voss sauntered over with her clique, coffee cup in hand, her voice carrying like a drill sergeant's bark. "Hey Grant, what's a girl like you doing in a place like this? People of color like you are only good at dancing around problems, not fighting them." The words landed like shrapnel, drawing chuckles from nearby tables and turning heads. Corporal Derek Kane leaned in, his smirk widening. "Yeah, affirmative action hire. Bet you got here on pity points, not push-ups." The mess hall buzzed with tension, soldiers pausing their meals to watch. Aisha felt a familiar itch between her shoulder blades, the eagle tattoo seeming to stir, as if the ink itself recoiled at the venom. It was a reminder of her inner strength, forged in fire, but she kept her expression neutral, silently jotting down the exchange. What was she writing? Names, patterns, weaknesses, the kind of intel that could expose systemic flaws. But the mystery lingered, her silence fueling their suspicions. That afternoon, the call came. Captain Marcus Hale summoned her to his office, his posture rigid, files stacked like accusations. "Grant, your performance is adequate, but you don't belong here. Whispers say you're hiding something. Prove me wrong." His eyes bored into her, laced with the prejudice she'd sensed from day one, an internal enemy more dangerous than any external threat. Aisha stood at attention, her mind racing through tactical options: deflect, observe, endure. The mini-climax hit during the afternoon weapon training session. As the group disassembled M4 carbines under the watchful eyes of instructors, Kane struggled with a jammed bolt assembly, his frustration boiling over. Damn thing's stuck again. Without a word, Aisha stepped forward, her hands moving with lightning precision, releasing the charging handle, clearing the chamber, and reseating the bolt carrier group in seconds. It was bolt assembly logic straight from special ops training. Identify the misalignment, apply controlled force, verify function. The group stared, Kane's face reddened. "How'd you know that?" he demanded. Aisha shrugged, "Just observant." But the slip revealed a glimpse of her decisive edge, the life skill of turning crisis into control, honed in missions where hesitation meant death. "Have you ever been underestimated because of your skin color?" Aisha chose silence, but not forever. As the session ended, Hale's eyes narrowed, plotting his next move. Hale's narrowed eyes lingered on Aisha as she walked away from the weapon training range, the weight of his suspicion pressing like an unseen enemy. That night, in the dim light of her barracks bunk, Aisha wrestled with the storm inside her. The urge to reveal everything, to step forward and demonstrate her true capabilities, to teach these prejudiced fools a lesson in real strength, was overwhelming. "They need to know," she whispered to herself, fists clenched against the thin mattress. But military logic held her back like iron chains. Classified operations couldn't be disclosed without clearance. Operation Shadow Eagle's secrets weren't just her burden. Exposing them could endanger ongoing missions, compromise assets, and unravel the fragile web of national security she'd helped weave. One wrong word, one slip, and lives could be lost, again. She refused the next team-building exercise outright, skipping the mandatory group run and strategy session. Not feeling well, she muttered to her squad leader, but the excuse rang hollow. Isolation followed swiftly, a familiar cage. Whispers turned to outright taunts. "Arrogant black sheep," Kane sneered during chow the next day, loud enough for the whole table to hear. "Thinks she's too good for us normals." Voss piled on, her envy sharpening the barbs. "Or maybe she's just scared. Affirmative action babies always crack under pressure." The internal group conflict boiled, creating rifts in the unit that Aisha dutifully noted in her journal. It fueled audience indignation, this blatant discrimination, but for Aisha, it was a mirror to her deeper wounds. Flashbacks hit like sniper fire in the quiet hours. In her mind's eye, she was back in the Middle East sandstorm, leading her team of color through a hostile village during Shadow Eagle. The prejudiced commander, a white officer who dismissed their intel as overcautious minority paranoia, had ignored their warnings, sending them into an ambush. Screams echoed, teammates falling, blood mixing with dust, Aisha dragging the wounded while return fire pinned her down. 10 gone, because of bias disguised as strategy. Eagle flies through storms, her mother's voice cut through the nightmare, a memory from childhood stories of the Tuskegee Airmen, black pilots who soared despite segregation. Her grandfather among them. You carry their wings, baby. Don't let the winds break you. The eagle tattoo on her back burned in response, a silent anchor. Audience might think her weak now, crumbling under the pressure, ready to pack up and leave. But Aisha straightened, wiping sweat from her brow. She decided to stay, for a bigger secret, one that would turn their prejudices into their undoing. The decision to stay ignited something in Aisha, a quiet resolve that carried her through the next grueling days. But she wasn't alone in noticing the cracks. Sergeant Major Elias Reed, a grizzled veteran of color with 3 decades under his belt, had been watching her from afar. During a late-night equipment check in the armory, he approached, his presence commanding yet fatherly. "Grant," he said, his voice low and steady, "I've seen soldiers come and go. Most break under the stairs. You? You observe like a hawk, or should I say, an eagle." He nodded knowingly, as if he'd glimpsed the hidden tattoo's essence through her unyielding gaze. Reed recognized potential in her sharp situational awareness, the way she cataloged flaws without a word, a skill that screamed special ops experience. Sitting on a crate amid disassembled rifles, Reed recounted a story close to home. "Your father? He was like you, a Tuskegee Airman, flying through storms of hate, silent sacrifice in every mission. They called him weak, but he proved them wrong, not with words, but wings." Aisha's eyes softened. The memory hit deep, her mother's letters echoing the same tales of black pilots defying segregation. "Eagle doesn't need to prove itself," Reed advised, his words educating the spirit of rising up. "It flies when needed, soaring above the noise. You've got that fire, kid. Use it wisely." His guidance was a lifeline, reinforcing resilience against the prejudices gnawing at her. Then came an unexpected ally, Private Mia Torres, a young Hispanic woman struggling with a malfunctioning drone during a night drill. Aisha, spotting the issue from afar, secretly stepped in, rerouting the circuit with expert precision, whispering tips on drone reconnaissance to avoid detection. Torres's eyes widened in gratitude. "How'd you know that?" "You're not like the others." Trust bloomed, a small crack in the isolation. "But Hale is plotting. Can Aisha detect it in time?" Hale's plot hung in the air like an unspoken threat, but Aisha's encounter with Reed had steeled her resolve. The next morning, as the base buzzed with preparation for the major drill, a simulated urban assault against a terrorist cell, she made her choice. No more holding back in the shadows. It was time to cross into the real challenge, where observation turned to action. The exercise was designed to test everything: coordination under fire, quick decision-making, and the ability to adapt in chaos. Aisha volunteered quietly, her decision a silent rebellion against the prejudices closing in. As the team geared up in the briefing room, Hale's eyes locked on her with calculated disdain. "Grant, you're on Overwatch," he barked, assigning her the subordinate position. High ground surveillance, far from the action where her weaknesses couldn't drag them down. It was a deliberate slight, prejudice masquerading as strategy, but Aisha nodded without protest. The battlefield awaited, a mock urban complex of concrete buildings and twisting alleys, rigged with sensors, pop-up targets, and simulated explosives. Pounding music in her mind, or perhaps the base's training soundtrack, echoed the heartbeat of impending conflict, transitioning to heroic swells as the siren blared for start. Stepping onto the field, Aisha felt the eagle tattoo burn hot against her skin, like a forewarning of danger. It wasn't just ink, it was a compass, guiding her through storms. Education came alive here. She activated her drone for reconnaissance, its cameras sweeping for enemy positions while she prepped cyber jamming tools. Simple Python scripts to disrupt simulated comms, a life skill in modern warfare where information was as deadly as bullets. But a team mistake is about to force Aisha to reveal. The simulated urban assault drill kicked off with a blare of sirens, thrusting Aisha into the heart of the battlefield. From her Overwatch perch on a mock rooftop, she scanned the complex below through her sniper scope, the team's initial movements unfolding like a predictable script. But Hale's plot, hinted at in Reed's warning, loomed. His assignment of her to this isolated role was no accident. It was a test, designed to marginalize her while the real action played out on the ground. Aisha's eagle tattoo tingled again, a burning forewarning of danger. The mystery loop escalated. What more did the eagle hide? The first test came swiftly, prejudice rearing its head amid the chaos. As the squad advanced into the enemy compound, Voss refused to coordinate with Aisha's intel feeds. "I don't need input from the token diversity hire," Voss snapped over the comms, her voice dripping with disdain. Kane chimed in, his racism unchecked. "Yeah, Overwatch? More like oversight. Stay in your lane, Grant." The slurs cut deep, layering external conflict on top of the drill's military challenges. But Aisha adapted, her adaptive life skills from special ops kicking in. Resilience not just in body, but in mind, turning insults into fuel. Allies emerged in the tension. Taurus, positioned nearby, whispered support via private channel. "Ignore them, Aisha. You've got this." Reed, observing from the command tent, fed her discreet tips. "Remember the eagle. Soar above." Their backing was crucial as the enemies within plotted. Hale, lurking in the background, murmured to Voss about eliminating the weak link, his scheme to discredit Aisha gaining traction. Mini-Climax 1 unfolded in the weapon workshop post-briefing, where the team prepped gear. Kane, fumbling with his M4 carbine again, challenged her openly. "Bet you can't fix this, princess." Audience might think she yields as Aisha silently took the rifle, her hands a blur, disassembling the bolt carrier, clearing a jammed round, and reassembling with precision born of countless midnight ops. It was bolt assembly logic straight from special ops training. Identify the misalignment, apply controlled force, verify function. The group stared. Kane's face reddened. "How'd you know that?" he demanded. Aisha shrugged. "Just observant." But the twist. While they saw submission, Aisha noted their weaknesses in her journal. Kane's sloppy maintenance, Voss's hesitation under stress. Internal PTSD relapsed briefly, a flash of sand and screams, but she pushed through. But the tattoo secret? It's not just an image. Who would you trust in this situation? The second mini-climax ramped up during a live-fire segment. Aisha's sniper role demanded 100% accuracy, but she held back, firing average shots to blend in. When a hostile drone simulated an attack, she couldn't resist. Hacking the system with a quick Python-based jamming script on her tablet, importing libraries like NumPy for signal analysis, disrupting comms without trace. It was electronic warfare in action, education woven in. In today's conflicts, adaptive tech like this turned tides, teaching life skills and flexibility amid chaos. Taurus cheered quietly over comms, her trust deepening. That was genius. But Kane accused loudly. How'd she do that? Suspicious, probably cheated. The multi-layered conflict deepened. Aisha's internal PTSD flickering with memories of betrayed teammates, her hands shaking briefly before steadying. Hale's enemy's circle tightened, Voss nodding along as they plotted in whispers. "We'll make sure she fails the next phase." Reed intervened subtly, pulling Aisha aside. "They're testing you, but you're testing them." The alliance grew, Torres becoming a confidant, sharing her Hispanic roots and similar struggles. "We've got your back." The third mini-climax hit in a strategy huddle after a failed sim run. Voss openly refused Aisha's tactical input. What does she know? Token hire. Hale backed her, his envy sharpening the barbs. Aisha's tattoo burned hotter, a silent call to action. She pushed back subtly, suggesting a repositioning that saved the virtual mission, but the cost was high. PTSD relapse full force, a momentary blackout where she saw fallen comrades. Twist. Audience senses vulnerability, but she notes their plot in her journal, turning weakness into weapon. As the drill intensified, Aisha's notes grew. Weaknesses cataloged, secrets building. The mystery loop escalated. What more did the eagle hide? The mystery of the eagle tattoo weighed heavier as the drill pushed forward, its secrets whispering promises of revelation amid the escalating chaos. With the team's weaknesses cataloged in her journal, Aisha prepared for the climax. The hostage rescue phase, set in a sprawling urban simulation, concrete mazes mimicking city streets, with added elements like pounding desert rain that turned dust to mud and complex terrain of narrow alleys and elevated sniper nests. The rain slashed sideways, visibility dropping to near zero, forcing reliance on tech and instinct. "This is where we separate the elite from the excuses," Hale barked in the pre-op huddle, his gaze lingering on Aisha with predatory intent. Education in action. Urban ops demanded mastery of terrain, using rain for acoustic cover to mask footsteps, alleys for flanking ambushes, and high ground for overwatch dominance. It taught life skills in navigating adversity, much like overcoming systemic bias. Adapt or perish. Voss and Kane's plot simmered, their refusals now active sabotage, ignoring her comms positioning poorly to test her. Allies whispered encouragement. Torres sent a quick text, "We've got faith in you." Reed nodded from afar, his veteran eyes approving. As the team geared up, Aisha nearly collapsed under the weight. PTSD relapsed with vicious force, triggered by the rain's rhythmic patter echoing the sandstorm of Shadow Eagle. Flashback assaulted her. Teammates of color, her brothers in arms, falling one by one in that Middle East hellhole. The prejudiced commander had dismissed their warnings. Minority paranoia, he'd sneered, sending them into a kill zone. Blood-soaked sand, screams swallowed by wind, Aisha the lone survivor dragging bodies while bullets whizzed. The guilt crushed her. Why her? Internal conflict raged. Why prove to those unworthy? Hale's slurs mirrored that bigotry, Voss's envy at echo of past betrayals. Doubt clawed at her, knees buckling in the prep tent, rain mingling with sweat. The symbol called her back. She touched the eagle tattoo, its inked wings a talisman of strength. Fly through the storm, it seemed to urge, anchoring her amid the turmoil. Humanistic depth came in a quiet moment. A crumpled letter from her mother, slipped into her gear weeks ago, now reread under flashlight. "You are the eagle of the lineage," it read, evoking Tuskegee ghosts. "Your grandfather flew against hate, silent wings carrying him higher. Don't let them clip yours, baby. Our blood soars, resilient, unbreakable." The words wove history into her veins. Black airmen defying odds in segregated skies, her father's silent sacrifices in forgotten wars, generations of color rising against storms of discrimination. It humanized the struggle, transforming personal pain into generational resilience, a reminder that her fight wasn't just for herself, but for those who came before and after, educating on the spirit of rising up, turning heritage into armor. PTSD relapsed harder. Aisha nearly collapsed, vision blurring with tears and rain. But a twist awaits. The twist awaited in the downpour, as the hostage rescue phase erupted into full crisis. Aisha shook off the PTSD haze, her vision clearing just in time to see the team unravel below. The urban simulation had turned brutal. Desert rain slicked the concrete, turning alleys into slip traps and rooftops into precarious perches. Kane, leading the breach team, charged into a hostile building too aggressively, ignoring Aisha's overwatch warnings. A simulated sniper round hit, red paint splattering his vest as sensors blared, "Casualty." He crumpled in mock death, cursing under his breath. Voss, his second, panicked in the open, fumbling her carbine as enemy pop-ups fired blanks her way. "Fall back, we're exposed," she yelled over comms, her voice cracking, the envy and prejudice that had defined her now crumbling under real pressure. The squad scattered, coordination lost just seconds from execution in the drill's script. Hale, monitoring from the edge, smirked at first, his plot to expose Aisha's incompetence unfolding perfectly. But as failure loomed, his face hardened. This wasn't just a test anymore. From her overwatch, Aisha's eagle tattoo burned like a brand, urging action. She keyed her mic. "Team, reposition to grid echo 4, use the rain for cover." But Hale overrode her, his voice booming. "Negative, Grant. You're not in charge. Your advice got us here." The team faltered further. Kane, down. Voss frozen. Extreme indignation built. This was public sabotage, Hale's prejudice weaponized, risking the drill's lives to prove his point. Audience outrage would peak here, racial and gender bias laid bare, a woman of color silenced while incompetence reigned. Hale escalated, storming to Aisha's position with a squad in tow, rain drenching his uniform. "Grant, you're the problem. Prove your loyalty. Strip your uniform right now in front of everyone. Show us you're not hiding anything." The order stunned the 300 soldiers observing from the perimeter, murmurs turning to gasps. Public, racial, gender prejudice at its ugliest, humiliating a soldier of color to prove worth, stripping dignity under the guise of discipline. Aisha's heart pounded, PTSD flickering, flashbacks of past degradations, of being othered in units where skin color trumped skill. But she complied, unzipping her BDU with steady hands, the fabric falling away to reveal her tank top and the eagle tattoo in full glory. Wings spread defiantly between her shoulder blades, the ink a masterpiece of resilience. General Harlan Brooks, arriving unannounced to oversee the drill, froze mid-stride on the platform. His face paled. He'd once participated in Shadow Eagle, commanding from afar, and knew the tattoo's true meaning. A survivor symbol, etched only on those who'd endured the mission's hell. Whispers spread. What is that? Why is the general staring? The unexpected twist hit like a revelation. Audience might think the tattoo was just a personal symbol of strength, but it actually encoded mission coordinates. Subtle lines in the eagle's feathers mapping the exact Middle East location where Aisha had saved lives, including Brooks' own unit years ago. Not just sacrifice, she'd improvised a drone hack to redirect enemy fire, pulling victory from defeat. The ink wasn't art, it was a cipher, a classified reminder of her heroism. Aisha intervened without hesitation, seizing control. Switching to manual override, she announced, piloting the team's drone from her tablet. Fingers flying, she executed real cyber warfare, hacking enemy systems with encrypted payloads, jamming signals to blind sensors and redirect hostiles. Education embedded. In modern ops, cyber tools like this, using firewalls, breaches, and spoofed IPs, turned battles digital, teaching that superior skills weren't brute force but strategic disruption. The drone swooped, neutralizing threats, saving the virtual hostages as the team regrouped. Heroic music swelled in the narrative, triumphant horns cutting through the rain. Voss, recovering, radioed, "How?" Kane, revived by the reset, stared in awe. Brooks approached, his freeze thawing to respect. But Hale hasn't stopped. A bigger twist is coming. The rain slackened as the drill's chaos peaked. Aisha's intervention, turning impending failure into triumph. The hostages were rescued, sensors confirming mission success, but the real victory unfolded on the perimeter. General Harlan Brooks strode forward, his frozen shock thawing to authoritative command. "Stand down, all units," he bellowed, his voice cutting through the downpour like a blade. Soldiers parted as he approached Aisha, her tattoo still exposed, the eagle's wings seeming to unfurl in the fading light. "Grant," Brooks said, his tone a mix of recognition and respect. Or should I say, the Eagle of Shadow? Gasps rippled through the ranks. He revealed it all, Aisha as the hero of Operation Shadow Eagle, the sole survivor who'd turned disaster to victory. Her tattoo not just ink but an encoded badge of honor, coordinates of her life-saving hack etched in symbol. "She didn't just survive, she saved us all, including me," Brooks declared, his eyes meeting hers. The revelation was sweet justice, a payoff for every slur endured. Hale and Voss stood rigid, faces paling as the general turned to them. "Your prejudices nearly cost this unit everything. Effective immediately, you're relieved of duty, disciplinary action pending." Hale stammered protests, but Brooks cut him off. "Court-martial for compromising security and discrimination." Voss's envy crumbled to regret, her head bowed as MPs escorted them away. Justice came quickly, a cathartic release for the indignation built. Audience satisfaction in seeing bigots fall. Aisha gained the advantage. Brooks assigned her to lead training reforms. "Your insights will reshape this program," he said. The tattoo loop closed. It no longer hides, but is a symbol of freedom, wings spread for all to see. With the tattoo's freedom unveiled, Aisha stepped off the platform amid stunned silence, the rain finally easing to a drizzle. Brooks' recognition had shifted the tide. Soldiers who once whispered doubts now murmured respect. The eagle symbol transforming from hidden scar to badge of honor. Assigned to lead training reforms, Aisha felt the weight lift, her advantage secured. Insights from Shadow Eagle would reshape protocols, emphasizing diversity and tactical equity. But the road back wasn't smooth. Victory's afterglow hid lingering threats. Hale, stripped of command but not venom, plotted in the shadows. From his quarters, he drafted a report. Aisha Grant, suspected betrayal. Her skills indicate espionage, not heroism. Misdirection gripped the audience. Worry she'd fail after all, the bigot's last stand undermining her triumph. Whispers reached Aisha via Taurus. "He's sending it up the chain. Claims your tattoo codes enemy intel." The unexpected challenge hit hard, Hale's prejudice refusing to die quietly. Aisha reversed it with note evidence from her notebook. Meticulous records of Hale's biases, Voss's sabotage, Kane's errors. "This isn't just observation," she presented to Brooks, pages detailing how their discrimination mirrored the flaws that doomed Shadow Eagle. "It's proof of systemic failure." Brooks nodded, quashing the report. Treasonous conduct on his part. Hale's plot crumbled, justice extending beyond the drill, sweet vindication as he faced full inquiry. Yet the real challenge was internal. Final PTSD surged during a solitary walk back to barracks. Visions assaulted, teammates' faces, accusations of betrayal, echoing hails. She nearly faltered, knees buckling. Humanistic solace came through a family letter, reread under lamplight. Her mother's words, inked in steady hand, advised, "Fly high like eagle, baby. Our color's memory, Grandpa's wings against hate, carries you. Don't let storms ground you." The humanistic depth grounded her, lineage of color, from Tuskegee silent sacrifices to her own, weaving resilience into her core. Educating spirit rising, she stood taller. The real mission is about to start. Is Aisha ready? The real mission launched at dawn, anti-terror ops along the border, a high-stakes insertion where intel pointed to a cell smuggling weapons. Aisha, now leading the team under Brooks' orders, felt the weight of readiness from her notebook's revelations. No more simulations, this was live, with real bullets and lives on the line. Heroic music swelled in the narrative, boots pounding dirt, rotors chopping air, as Aisha coordinated from forward command, her eagle tattoo a visible emblem under her rolled sleeves. Old teammates flanked her, Kane, humbled but tense, Voss, assigned despite probation. Prejudice lingered in their glances, but the border's harsh terrain, rugged hills, hidden caves, demanded unity. When ambush hit, enemies, unleashing fire from concealed positions, Kane took a grazing wound, Voss pinned down. "We're done," she cried, panic echoing her past failures. Aisha proved her value, directing a flanking maneuver, using terrain for cover, education in tactical adaptation, turning hills into shields. She piloted a drone for precision strikes, hacking enemy comms to sow confusion, saving her old teammates from certain doom. Sweet resolution unfolded. Voss, pulled to safety by Aisha's quick thinking, changed, tears mixing with dirt as she apologized. "I was wrong, about everything. You're the real deal." Kane nodded, his racism cracked. "Owe you my life." Victory over personal prejudice, a cathartic shift. The final twist climaxed. As the mission wrapped, Brooks revealed the tattoo's deepest secret. It opened reform documents, the encoded coordinates unlocking classified files on systemic discrimination in the military. Not just a symbol, it was a key to policy change, victory over the system itself. Music transitioned to deep, resonant tones, echoing triumph. In the open ending months later, Aisha stood as Pentagon training director, her reforms rippling through the military. Casualties dropped 50%. New protocols emphasizing resilience and tactical innovation, drawing from Shadow Eagle's lessons. Education shone. Life skills like adaptive thinking turned soldiers into survivors, not just fighters. Programs now screened for biases, promoting diversity as strength, her eagle tattoo a badge worn openly in briefings. The message crystallized. Eagle doesn't need to prove. It flies when the world needs. Aftertaste lingered in a poignant scene. Aisha teaching young female soldiers of color in a sunlit classroom, their eyes wide with aspiration. "Your wings are there," she said, touching her back. "Rise above the storms." Have you overcome prejudice? Share to inspire, because every eagle deserves to fly high.